Hey everyone, welcome back to WrestlePop. Alright guys, it's the Daily Heat. This is all the quick wrestling news stories we feel like you need to know for the day. To kick things off, Triple H recently did a media call to promote WrestleMania and all the upcoming events, and he was asked about the thing that everyone always wants to know about nowadays, and that is his thoughts on Undertaker saying that modern day wrestlers are just soft and the product overall is soft and he's just not too happy about it. And so of course Triple H gave a very PC answer. It was very corporate. He said times change, everyone evolves, the product is going to be different from generation to generation, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. You don't have to agree with it, you might agree with it, but he did say a very interesting thing, and that is that some of the guys have been in the business for so long that their opinion carries a little bit more weight than others, and Undertaker is definitely one of those guys. Now remember guys, Triple H is a former member of DX, so I'm sure he has a very un-PC opinion on this that he would love to share, but of course he's a suit nowadays, so he's got to keep it corporate. Next up, he was also asked his thoughts on Chris Jericho being the next guest on Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and his comments were pretty interesting. Let's get into it. We're open for business. I've said it a million times on things. Vince has been very open for business. What's best for business for WWE, and open to working with whoever. People sometimes create their own situations in their head. I just heard it today, but it's not shocking to me in any shape or form. People make comments about people after they leave. Oh, I received a nice call from Vince. Yeah, it's not shocking to me at all. The perception and the creation of what people believe in their heads when they have zero knowledge of it personally, it's a fantasy world that is created, not shocking to me in any way. So it sounds like he wasn't aware about the Chris Jericho interview until that day, but I find that a little hard to believe. If it's true though, that's pretty shocking. But listen guys, if you don't know, back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, wrestlers would leave WWE all the time. Then they would go and do these interviews where they would badmouth Vince and talk about how terrible he was and how they'd never go back there. And then next thing you know, a couple years down the road, there they are back at WWE working for Vince. And then they'd be asked about it and they'd say, well, you know, like it wasn't that bad. I decided to go back. And here's the thing guys, Vince doesn't care if you talk about him after you leave. If he thinks he can make $1 off of you, he's gonna do business with you. Speaking of Chris Jericho, he revealed on the most recent episode of his podcast that TNT wants AEW to hype up heavily all of the wrestlers' debuts so that way they can take advantage of the ratings boost. Apparently what had happened is that TNT was very displeased that AEW had Sting come on as a complete surprise because they weren't able to take advantage of the ratings boost that hyping it up would have gotten them. So that's why when Big Show and Christian Cage both made their debuts, it was heavily hyped up beforehand. That way the audience knew that something was coming, just not who was coming. As you guys know, as wrestling fans, some of the best parts are the surprises, especially back in the late 90s when you had wrestlers popping up on competitor shows just at random with no fanfare at all, and that was one of the things that you looked forward to. You never know what was going to happen. Sounds like the TNT executives really don't know wrestling, because if they did, they would know that the surprises are part of the appeal. Triple H also revealed on the media call that AJ Styles has been pestering him to have a WrestleMania match, but Triple H said while he's very flattered, he just doesn't have enough time to train and prepare for it now that he's a busy executive. But it sounds like to us guys, that's really just code for he doesn't think that AJ Styles is as big of a star as AJ thinks he is. It's being reported that Bobby Lashley and MVP were very upset with the Hurt Business being broken up too soon, so much so that they even went and had a meeting with Vince McMahon and tried to talk him out of it, but all it succeeded in doing was making Vince dig his heels in even deeper. Guys, we totally agree that they were broken up way too soon. We gotta just hope that maybe this is just gonna be a big swerve at WrestleMania and they're gonna be back together soon. Speaking of WrestleMania, Sean Waltman recently revealed on his podcast that the Hall of Fame ceremony will not have any inductors at all. He claims that when they were doing the taping, Jerry Lawler was doing the hosting, but when it came to the actual induction, it was just a video montage, and then like the Bella twins said before, the speeches were cut down from around 15 minutes to between 3 and 5 minutes long. So it sounds like this Hall of Fame ceremony is going to be just a big dumpster fire. Arn Anderson recently revealed on his podcast the wrestler that he had the most difficult time working with, and it was Kevin Owens. And he said it was because Kevin constantly questioned every decision that he made. But this shouldn't come as much of a surprise though, because Jim Cornette had also previously revealed that during his time on Ring of Honor, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens both questioned everything and kind of made the job very difficult for him. If you guys remember, last year, WWE had to let go of a lot of talented people, all due to budget cuts concerning COVID, and now the newest member to the WWE roster, YouTube star Logan Paul, is getting a little bit of heat with one of the guys. Apparently, WWE let Logan Paul have their private jet to fly around Florida to get him to the SmackDown taping, and Lio Rush took exception to that. He went on Twitter and called out the WWE, basically saying that he felt like that money could have been better spent on wrestler salaries. So it sounds like, guys, Lio Rush is maybe hoping to have a program with Logan Paul down the road. The WWE loves legacies, and it's being reported that the most recent one coming to the roster is Davey Boy Smith Jr. Reports are coming out that he is re-signed with the company and he's going to be making his NXT UK debut soon. On the most recent episode of Kurt Angle's podcast, he talked about the wrestler that he enjoyed wrestling with the most, and it was a pretty surprising answer. He said it would be Chris Benoit. Now, it's not exactly PC to talk about Chris Benoit nowadays, given what he's done, but Kurt said that they had so much fun together and would always try to outdo each other and blow each other up. Now, there's a lot of guys that talk very highly about Chris Benoit, so what do you guys think? Does he deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame, even though he's done a lot of terrible things? Rob Van Dam recently gave an interview and he talked about how nowadays he doesn't wrestle for the pure passion of the business, it's all just about the money, which makes a lot of sense because back in the day when he was at ECW, he believed a lot of the BS that Paul Heyman was telling him, and he lost out on a lot of money because of it. Guys, remember, this business is a work. It should always be about the money, not getting 18 stars at the Tokyo Dome. On the most recent episode of WWE's Day Of series, it focused on the Fastlane event between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, and after the match, Sheamus went backstage and received a lot of praise from people, and he did a little interview and he talked about his match, and at the end of it, he got very emotional, and he was talking to Cesaro and told him that he loves him and that he misses him as a tag team partner, and he just was very, very in his feelings about it, and it was a touching moment. But guys, it seems like a lot of people have a lot of praise for Cesaro. They think he's just a genuinely good guy. But what do you guys think? Will he ever end up being the star that so many people think he is? And our final story of the day, guys, is Mr. Charlotte Flair, Andrade. He recently went on Twitter and praised some of his former WWE co-stars and said that he hopes one of them wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. But he also, more importantly, tweeted out a photo of himself with a blank sheet of paper and a pen, looking like he's signing something, and he indicated that there are new beginnings coming, which kind of makes it seem like he's made his decision on which company he's going to sign with. Now, we just wonder, does Charlotte Flair approve? And that, guys, is the Daily Heat. Let us know what you thought of these stories down below. Alright guys, that's the video. If you like what we're doing here, definitely check out our other channel, 5 Minute Eats, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe.